You know, I've been thinking a lot lately about how lucky we are to live in the land of the free, as opposed to an autocratic country like Russia or China. You see, in Putin's Russia, the press isn't free. Instead, it serves the interests of the regime, on whose behalf it spreads lies and propaganda. Can you imagine? Even worse is communist China. In communist China, citizens are under constant surveillance. The government knows pretty much every single move they make, regardless of any nominal rights to privacy. In Russia and China, citizens don't have a practical right to free speech. Even if they have such a right in theory, if they ever contradict the prevailing orthodoxy of the regime, they can be censored and kicked out of the public square. In those kinds of countries, agents of the state even deny parents' right to raise their own children. Law enforcement persecutes people for their traditional religious beliefs. And most brazenly of all, evil autocrats like Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin jail their political opponents. Thank goodness we don't live in a country like that. Thank goodness we don't live in a country like, oh, look, what does this card say right here? It says President Trump might be arrested on Tuesday. That's weird. This, according to President Trump, though, it comes after an NBC report that prosecutors in New York are preparing to indict Trump. What are they going to indict him over? Is it Russia collusion? Is it Ukraine collusion? Is it his classified documents that Biden apparently had multiples of at his home? That didn't really matter. It was only when Trump had it that was a bad thing. No, it's none of that. The libs in New York are looking to indict Trump over his hush money payment to Stormy Daniels back in 2016. They've gone through so many attempts to try to get Trump, they're now onto reruns. They're now going back to the originals. And so what's the issue here? Why is it a crime for Trump to pay Stormy Daniels? Well, he paid it through Michael Cohen, who is his former attorney, who sang like a songbird and completely turned on Trump, broke under pressure, and got a slightly more lenient treatment apparently by the liberals than he otherwise would have gotten. He says that he made the payment on Trump's behalf to Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet about an alleged 2006 affair that they had. Then Cohen pleaded guilty to related charges and served time in prison. Why is it a crime? Because the payment was listed as a legal expense, and the company cited a retainer agreement with Cohen. But this particular retainer apparently did not exist. Even though Cohen was Trump's lawyer for a long time, there was no legal retainer in this particular incident. And so Trump may have committed a misdemeanor of falsifying business records. The report said that Trump personally signed several checks to Cohen while he was serving as president. Now, a misdemeanor, why are you going to arrest the former president and the current chief rival to the sitting president over a misdemeanor? Well, they can elevate it to a felony if they can prove that Trump's, quote, intent to defraud included an intent to commit or conceal a second crime. And the libs are arguing that the second crime is that the $130,000 hush money payment to Stormy Daniels was actually an improper political contribution because he was making the payment to keep her quiet during the campaign. So it's as though it were an improper donation to the campaign, which again is bogus. Pretty much every campaign finance matter is bogus because money is fungible. So if you give X amount of money to a candidate's campaign committee, that can land you in prison. But if you give 10 times that amount of money to a super PAC, that's totally fine. If one group gives money, it's okay. If an individual or a different group gives money, that can be a big problem. So it's all basically bogus. But the reason this is especially bogus is that Trump is the candidate. And candidates can give as much money to their campaigns as they want. So even if the prosecutors in New York argue that this was an improper donation to the campaign, maybe it was done through a kind of improper channel, maybe the paperwork was a little bit off, but it's still Donald Trump donating to his own campaign. It's so patently absurd It's so obvious that the Democrats here just want to stop the people from having a chance to reelect Donald Trump, because they're afraid that if Trump can appear on a ballot, they're afraid that if Trump can mount a real presidential campaign, that the people will vote for him. And so they're doing everything they can. They tried to disqualify him using the 14th Amendment. They tried to they had multiple suits to try to keep him off the ballots in different states around the country. They have tried to impeach him multiple times. Now they're trying to lock him into prison, from which place he could still run for president, but obviously would hurt his campaign if he were stuck in a jail cell instead of holding rallies. It's so obvious that these guys fear Trump and want to do everything they can to prevent the people from having a choice, that this is the silver lining of this whole storm cloud. The silver lining is that I think we can finally dismiss once and for all the ridiculous piffle that the Democrats tell us about our sacred democracy. Donald Trump and the Republicans are a threat to our sacred temples of democracy, our cherished norms. We don't act like this in America. We're better than this. No, you're not better than this. You're breaking all the norms. You are undermining our allegedly sacred democracy. You're jailing your political opponents like a 2-bit dictator in a banana republic, which some of us conservatives have observed for a long time. So, okay, that's how they want to play? Fine. I do not want to hear it anymore about our sacred democracy or any of that other stuff. Don't want to hear it one little bit. What should the Republicans do in response? I think that a Republican governor, or more precisely, I guess, a Republican attorney general, should arrest a prominent criminal lib. There is no shortage of candidates, of prominent liberal politicos who have committed crimes. Look around the Clinton circles, look around the Biden circles, look at Clinton and Biden themselves. Plenty of big criminal libs out there who have completely gotten off the hook, and there are plenty of Republican governors and attorneys general out there. I think you would need a Republican governor as well as an attorney general, because if the attorney general indicts a big prominent criminal lib and there's a Democrat governor, the Democrat governor will apply political pressure or eventually probably just pardon the criminal lib. So I think you need to have a Republican governor there as well. But let's do it. Let's indict a big criminal lib. Let's indict 2 of them. They are going after our guy. Let's go after 5 of their guys. There's no risk here. Some people push back against this suggestion. They say, well, we're better than them, Michael. Sure, I think we are better than them. I'm not suggesting we do anything illegal or unjust. I'm not saying we go after an innocent lib. I'm saying we should go after a criminal lib against whom the law has not been applied. The argument against doing that is that we want to preserve our norms and we don't want to live in a country where we throw the vanquished political opposition into orange jumpsuits. I agree. I don't want to live in that country. But the only reason for which we should be concerned about that norm is if the norm continues to exist. The libs are breaking that norm. That's not our fault. We have nothing to say. We're saying don't violate the norm. Don't start arresting the opposition leaders in our country. But if they're going to do that, then we've got to play the game. Otherwise, we're just surrendering to the people who are abusing our political system the most. So, okay, they want to indict Trump? Fine. I want to see every Republican governor and attorney general with the political capital, with the power to do so, to indict prominent criminal libs. And I think you should indict multiple, and you should throw the book at them. And you should find every stupid little fake misdemeanor charge, and you should trump it up as high as you possibly can. Okay, the reason that you have to do this, the reason this would be good for our political order, is because it would show the libs that there are consequences to their actions. It would discourage further predations on our political order. I remember the late great historian Donald Kagan, professor of mine in college, historian of war, and specifically of ancient Greece and the Peloponnesian War. And when he would get down to these margin calls, why did Pericles do this? Why did this statesman do that? He would say, my inclination as to what motivated this statesman in this action or in this strategy comes from one place, and it's the Brooklyn schoolyard. And because Donald Kagan grew up in Brooklyn, is kind of a tough New York kid, became a very distinguished professor. He said the Brooklyn schoolyard, the rules hold the same. The rules of war, the rules of politics, they're the exact same as when you walk up to a bully in the playground. Okay, and so if we do not push back, if we just roll over and allow the libs to start arresting the leader of the opposition in the United States, we say, well, we're preserving the norms. You're not preserving any norm. You're helping the liberals to establish a new norm, which is that the conservatives never have a shot to win. And if conservatives ever stand up against the regime in any significant way, they will be wearing an orange jumpsuit. Now, the silver lining for Trump here is they restored his YouTube account. I just imagine Trump having a meeting with the regime, Trump having a meeting with the ruling class. And they say, hey, Donald, hey, opposition party, we've got good news and bad news. And what's the good news? Well, the good news is we're going to let you broadcast on YouTube again. So we're going to let you back into the public square. You can post videos to YouTube. Oh, great. What's the bad news? You can do it from prison. There's trade-offs in life. And the timing is so weird. They announce this just as the rumors start flying that they're going to arrest Trump. It seems coordinated. It seems, and so much of our ruling class seems coordinated. The media coordinates with the government. Big tech coordinates with the deep state. We know that. They have regular meetings with the FBI. And the FBI says, don't post this story. It's going to be damaging to Joe Biden. Don't allow people even to privately message this story about Hunter Biden's laptop. Oh, okay, sounds good. And there's all this coordination that goes on. And now the very same day, hey, we're going to let Trump back on YouTube. Isn't that fair? By the way, we're going to arrest him. Okay. The rest of the show continues now. You don't want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLES at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. We will see you over at the Membrum Segmentum.